Today's webinar is going to be on streamlining your Revit workflow, and we're going to be looking at a couple of groups of custom add-in tools for Revit. First, we're going to look at ASTI tools, or ASTI tools as we call them. These are some generalized tools for performing very common tasks in Revit. We'll do a quick overview of them, and then I'll show you a live demonstration of how they work. Then we'll switch over to BIM Connect, which is another application that we've developed here at Applied Software. And I'll do an overview of that one, and again, another live demonstration of that product as well. Follow up with a summary and, of course, questions and answers at the end of the presentation. So first off, ASTI tools. Again, these various tools provide shortcuts to perform common editing tasks in Revit. A lot of them related to renumbering objects, which is always kind of tedious at times. They also include a product called ModelMedic, which is a way of analyzing your model for common issues, say non-best practices that can occur in a project, report on those, and also provides you some capabilities for resolving them right there in place. All of these are going to be found on the ASTI tab of the Revit ribbon once you install the tools. So when you install the ASTI tools, it'll actually create a brand new ribbon in Revit, and all of the tools will be located in that one spot. So first off, Renumber Rooms. This is a tool that allows you to quickly renumber rooms following a predefined kind of template. So you can give them prefixes and so forth. It just makes it a lot easier than going through and painstakingly typing in number after number after number for every single room in your project. There's also a Renumber Doors tool, which allows you to renumber doors the exact same way as we can renumber rooms. But in addition, and I think of more value, is the ability to automatically renumber doors according to the rooms that they belong to. There's another tool that, while it may not be used that often, can be extremely valuable. Revit has I don't know if you'd call this a defect. It's been around for years, so you would think if it was a defect, they would have fixed it by now, but there's two properties for a door that don't update automatically. There's a to-room property and a from-room property. So what room does the door swing into? What room does the door swing out of? And if you flip the door, those properties don't update. So they're reversed. And what this particular tool will do is identify any doors for which those properties are incorrect. In other words, the door's been flipped, and fix them for you. We also have a Renumber General tool. This allows you to renumber other objects besides just doors and windows. So a variety of other categories of objects can also be renumbered, either by instance or by type. And we also have a change case tool. Now, I realize that Revit, I think 2017, maybe, I know for sure 2018, has the ability to change case, but the one that comes with ASTI tools is a little bit more flexible and gives you a few more options than what ships with Revit out of the box. And then finally, ModelMedic is the tool that you can use to analyze your project for common mistakes that people make on a day in, day out basis on a project and clean it up, or at least generate a report so you know what's going on. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and do a live demonstration and show you how these work. Let me open up the correct project here. There we are. So I'm in just one of the sample projects that come with Revit. And in this particular project, you'll notice that some of the rooms, first off, are numbered just the way Revit normally does things, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And I really don't want them numbered that way. Now, not all of them are like that. Notice that some of these are correct. So really, I want these room numbers to be numbered according to the level they're on. So level 1, I want them to go 100, 101, 102, 103, etc. And these aren't following that. So using the room renumber tool, I can easily fix it. Now, before I go into the room renumber tool, I'm going to make a little change to my view properties here. I'm going to take advantage of the temporary view properties that come with the current versions of Revit. If I click on the temporarily apply template properties here, what this allows me to do is I've just set up a little template here that automatically turns on the internal elements of the rooms, the reference and the internal fill. Just makes it easier for me to work with these and select them. So now when I go to the ASTI tools, we'll see over here the ASTI tools on the ASTI ribbon and click on Renumber Rooms. I'm going to go ahead and start from room number 121, because if I was to look at my room schedule, I would see that I already have rooms 100 through, or 101 through 120. So I want to start with room 121. I'm not going to put a prefix or a suffix on these, although I could. And if you're superstitious, you can skip the number 13. I'm going to go ahead and click Start Renumbering, and I'll just pick these rooms in the order that I want them to be renumbered. And you'll notice they actually kind of change colors a little bit as they've been selected. So it makes me keep track of what I've already selected. And once I'm done, I accept or reject the results. And then I can renumber some more, or I can just hit close. Now I'll restore my view properties. And we'll see that those rooms have all been now renumbered according to the parameters that I had specified. Now likewise, the doors, all of the doors in this project are numbered again the way Revit typically does, just starts with the first one and numbers it 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And that's throughout this entire project. And in reality, I'd rather have these doors renumbered according to the rooms that they swing into. So I'm going to use the Renumber Doors tool. And again, I do have the option of renumbering in the same fashion I just did the rooms, but in this case, I do want to assign to the rooms, and then I've got a variety of options here. For example, I can do numeric subnumbering, alpha subnumbering. Do I want to include a hyphen or not? Lowercase, uppercase, lots of different options here. I'm going to go ahead and click on Renumber All by Room, and I'm going to get a warning here, and this is normal. This is going to come up every time you use this option, and it's basically meant for people like me, people who are very impatient and expect it to happen right away. There's a lot of doors in this project that it has to process, and I need to give it time to do that before I go and hit cancel. And I'm the kind of person, if it doesn't happen in the first 2 seconds, I'm going to hit cancel and mess it all up. So I'm going to go ahead and just click OK, and we'll let that run. My display might freak out a little bit here. I think that's part of my display card. I don't think this happens with everybody, but it doesn't matter. It still works. So it comes back. I can either, again, accept or reject the results. I'll accept the results and close. And if we zoom in here, we'll now see that they are renumbered, and this particular room does have 2 doors swinging into it. One got numbered A, one got numbered B. Now we also have the ability, again, to renumber other types of objects. So if I go to my furniture plan here and zoom in on my furniture, you'll notice that each furniture has a mark value, but they're blank, right? So the mark value here hasn't been filled in. And again, I can easily take care of that. I'll just go to Renumber General. And again, there's several categories here we can renumber, but I'm going to go ahead and renumber furniture. And I'll start with F1. I could renumber them by type, so I can either renumber the instances themselves or the types, but I'll go ahead and do the instances, and I'll start the renumbering. Just go through here and pick them. And there's already a tag on these that's displaying the number as it appears. Now what's cool about this tool, I'll go ahead and accept these. Let's say that I already had these numbered, but I wanted to change the numbering. Well, for example, let's say that I wanted it to start down here with F1. Well, if you've ever done that, you know that as soon as you name this one F1, Revit's going to give you that annoying message saying that objects have duplicate mark values. And you've got to, you keep getting that as long as you're entering values that another object already has. Well, in this case, I don't have to worry about that. If I click on Start Renumbering here, and I start with this one at F1, I don't get the warning message because it really hasn't been renumbered until I accept the results. So as far as Revit knows, I haven't done anything here. So I can go through here and renumber these in whatever order I want. And it's not until I click on Accept that actually gets applied to the Revit database. Okay, so another tool here, if I go to this detail view, I've got a lot of notes in this detail that are all in uppercase, and I'm noticing that because of the scale and the size of the notes, etc., some of them are overlapping on others. There's lots of ways I could deal with this, but I might decide, you know, I'm just going to change these to maybe sentence case or lowercase or something like that. So I'm going to go to the Change Case tool, and you'll notice I have a variety of options on how to change the case here. And I can also place an override. So anywhere I have this C structural, I want to maintain that. I want to keep that in uppercase. So I'm going to click on Set Overrides, and I'll add that. So anytime it runs across that particular string, I want it to ignore it. And then I'm going to go ahead and change the sentence case. So I'll go ahead and select my first text note. And I'll just keep hitting enter to go through here and choose these notes one by one. And notice again, oops, I think I messed up on my, go back in and change my, I think I messed up on, I saw myself do this, and this is very specific. I actually had an extra space in there, so it didn't see the space, so it did actually let that get changed. So let me do this without a space. And now when I select, for example, this one, there, now it keeps it. So this was operator malfunction. I had a space in what I was telling it to ignore. It didn't see a space there, so it just did what I told it to do. Okay, so I'll go ahead and pick some more here. And we're done. So that's the change case tool. And finally, we have ModelMedic. If I click on ModelMedic, this is going to analyze the project. I can do it in any view. It'll analyze the project and then give me a visual report here as to what's happening in the project. And you'll notice some things have a yellow exclamation mark, some have a red, some have a green line. Anything that's green is basically saying no real problem here. Now I can set thresholds for what I want to be considered a problem. If I go here to settings, I can determine, for example, if I have an in-place family, I want to show that as a yellow warning. I want to know where I've got in-place families, because I try to limit the number of in-place families I have in a project. Doesn't mean I don't ever use them, it's just don't want to overuse them. If I go to, here's a good one, loaded CAD files. If there's a duplicate CAD file, if it's copied multiple times, I want to be notified in yellow. Here's a good one. I'll show you an example of this one. This one is a big no-no in my opinion, so I've flagged this as a red warning. I'll go ahead and just close this. I'm not going to make any changes. And we'll just go take a look at a few of these. So if we look at, for example, all these schedules here are unused, maybe something I want to purge or not, right? Just letting me know. So if I go to this one here, again, that's just a family that isn't used. I'm looking for another one here. This one might be it. No. Here's one. So this one is red because there's a couple of things going on. First off, it's a family that's loaded in my project that's not used, and I've set a threshold of any more than 10 type definitions within a family. I want to flag that as yellow. Well, since there's two things happening here, A, the family isn't being used, and it's got more than 10 type definitions in it, it's actually flagging this as red over here, something I really want to look at. And maybe I want to purge that out. But here's the big one. So here's a situation where someone imported a DWG file. It's not a link. So this tells me it's not a link. So that's the first no-no. I'm a real stickler for never importing CAD files if you can avoid it. Link them if you have to have them in your project. But this is even worse. It's only visible in the current, they did an import into the current view only. In other words, it only exists in a single view, and someone hid it in that view. So if you didn't have ModelMedic, it would be almost impossible to find this drawing. You could go into your, your visibility graphic overrides in any view, and you would see this import listed there, and it wouldn't show you which view it's in. Where is it? There's this file's been imported. It's been turned off in a view. I've got 100 views in my project. Where the heck is this thing? It's a 20 meg drawing file. It's bringing my project to its knees. Well, here it's very easy for me to find it. I know it's in this view. At worst case, I can go to that view, turn that object on, and then see what's going on and maybe delete it. As a matter of fact, if I really want to be draconian, if I go up here to Actions, I can delete it from right here. Okay, now that might be a little drastic. There might be a reason for it to be there, so I'm not going to delete this, but I can also generate a report. So this is live inside of Revit, but I can also take all this information, print it out to a PDF report, which I'm not going to do. It does take it takes it a minute or two to do that. There's a lot of information, but here's an example of a report, and it gives you the same information that we were looking at in the ModelMedic screen. And that's something that you can then share with a project meeting and determine what you need to do about those objects. So that's ModelMedic, that's ASTI Tools. So let's move on and let's talk about BIM Connect. So BIM Connect is a product that we developed to allow you to import and export data between Revit and Excel. And if you think about it, there's a lot of use cases for that. If I'm a project manager, I can suck information out of the Revit project, review it in Excel, edit it in Excel, and pump it back into Revit. So it's very good for project management, quality assurance, standards management, and compliance. I'm going to actually show you the specific use case here, architectural programming, and how we can use BIM Connect for that. But we can also use it, since we're dumping data out to Excel. Well, we've got other non-Revit applications as part of our BIM workflow that we need to use. Well, if they can read Excel information, or if we just have other Excel spreadsheets that we need to suck the information into, this would be the first stage, is export this out from Revit into an Excel spreadsheet. And this one here is huge. You've probably got, or a lot of people have, people in their office that need to collaborate on a Revit project that don't use Revit, but they just need to do data entry or something. Well, BIM Connect is built for that. So the current version of BIM Connect, what's available now, has the ability, of course, to import and export between Revit and Excel. We can also, in BIM Connect, create new rooms and sheets. So you don't have to be in the Revit environment to add a room or add a sheet. You can actually do it inside of BIM Connect. And it does give you a much more ability to do mass editing of elements and types, changing their parameters. Now, the new version of BIM Connect, which will be released shortly and which I'm demonstrating today, it's going to be available for Revit 2017 and 2018. I will be demonstrating it in 2017, but it'll work the same way in 2018. It's going to have an improved user interface. We've made quite a few improvements to that. The ability to save your exports. So if there's a certain criteria of data that you're exporting and you want to do that on a regular basis, you can save that profile and reload it so that you don't have to keep respecifying the same thing over and over and over again. You can sort on any column to make it easier to manage your data. And this is a big improvement here, the unprotected Excel worksheet. The current version of BIM Connect, when you export it out, anything that is a non-editable parameter in Revit, like the element ID or the area of a room or something like that, that's not only grayed out, it's visible, but it's grayed out, but you can't edit it, it's protected. Well, when you protect a worksheet, there's other things that you also disable. So we have chosen to unprotect the Excel worksheet. If you do edit a value that shouldn't be edited, that's normally not editable, Revit will just ignore that when it's imported, and you'll get a report saying, hey, this was ignored. So you won't be doing any damage. But by having it unprotected, we can now do a search and replace on the Revit data, and we get much more flexible editing options in general, which I'll be showing you. And then finally, an add-on. This is an additional kind of an add-on to BIM Connect, if you will, is the new BIM Connect Pro, which allows for automated unattended exports. So you can set up on a regular schedule, say at midnight, for example, to pull up a certain amount, multiple files, and export data from them to spreadsheets that you can then review the next day or whenever you want to do it. So again, the BIM Connect tools will be on that same ASTI ribbon once you install them. And there's two buttons for it. The Export Model View, this is the one that you're going to use most often. The Export Model View is where you specify what you're going to export, not only just the individual categories of objects, but also what pieces of data about each category. And then the Import box is essentially what you use to verify what you're bringing in from an Excel spreadsheet and then pump it into Revit. It basically gives you a last chance to check everything before you finally import it into Revit. When you're in the import or the export dialog box, you actually don't have to export to Excel to do editing. You can actually edit in the grid view here of the export dialog box, and we can add elements, we can sort on any column. We've also improved the interface to where, for example, in this graphic here, we've got a door that we've selected, we want to change it to a different type. In the current version of BIM Connect, you have to type in the family and the type name, which if you get a typo, that's not going to work, right? It'll fail on the import. This one gives you a drop-down list so you can choose from all the existing families and types. And these drop-down lists will appear anywhere where it makes sense for them to be. This is the use case that I'm going to show you, is the ability to create new rooms, but I'm going to take it further than this. In this example, they're actually adding the rooms in the grid view. I'm going to show it being done in the Excel spreadsheet, again simulating maybe a project manager who doesn't want to work in Revit to do this, but finds it easier, maybe whether they use Revit or not, maybe finds that particular task more appropriate for an Excel spreadsheet. I'll be showing you that in a minute. When you import the data, you'll always get a report, and it'll give you color codes as to what failed, what didn't fail. Hopefully you'll get nothing but cyan and green. Green is when you've added an element and it adds successfully. Cyan is when you've made a change to an element and it changed successfully. There are other things here though that can happen. You may be importing an Excel spreadsheet that has a parameter in it that maybe came from another file that doesn't exist in the current project. It'll tell you, well, that corresponding parameter doesn't exist in this particular project, couldn't do anything. It's just verification of what got changed. And then finally, the automated export. So this is done using the Microsoft Windows scheduling tool, but it's done from within the BIM Connect interface, and I'll be showing you this as well. So let's go ahead and do a demonstration of BIM Connect. So I'll close this file. And we'll go back to this one. And the first thing I'm going to do is come down here to my sheets. We'll go to this cover sheet. And you'll notice on this cover sheet that the project name, the client name, the project number, none of the project information has been filled in yet. Also notice I only have sheets A1 through A8. So I'm going to go into BIM Connect, go bring up the ASTI ribbon and go to Export Model View. And there's a variety of ways I can choose to export my data. Up in this area, I can choose to export just the elements that exist in my project, and I can do it based on any 3D view, so I can export a specific 3D view. Only the elements that are in that view will get exported, or my current view, and only the elements in my current view will be exported, or I can choose to export the entire project. And when I click on Table Profile here, it'll process all that information, and then I can choose further which specific categories to export. So if I click on doors here, we'll see there's all the doors in the project, and I can choose specific columns. I don't have to include all of these. Some of these parameters, quite frankly, are rather esoteric, and some of them I don't even know what they are, so I'm not even going to include them. So you'll notice as I check these off, you'll see it here in a minute, they don't appear in the grid view. And so if I was to dump this out to Excel, this is all I would see. I can also sort again on any column. Okay, and that kind of helps sometimes setting it up for an Excel export. But I can also choose to export element types. And if I choose that and leave the other checked on, I'm now looking at elements and element types. So here's the doors, right? And since I didn't exit the interface here, it remembers pretty much what I had chosen before. If I had checked on the doors box, actually, it would have remembered exactly what I had checked on as far as the fields, and I forgot to do that. But notice also now I'm including door types as well. So you've got a lot of flexibility here. For this example, though, what I'm going to do is simply export non-model elements. So these are things like materials. Well, you'll see. I'll click on Table Profile here, and we can see these are things that are really not things that are in the model. They're more like settings and you know, levels, grids, that kind of thing. And in this case, I want to look at my project information, but not everything. I want to look at the project name. I want to look at the client name, maybe the project number. Okay, and then I can choose to edit that right here in the grid, so I don't have to go to Excel if I don't want to. We'll go ahead and put in a client name here. And give it a project name and a project number. And then I'll go down here to my sheets, and again, with the sheets, I don't want to look at everything. I just want the name, the number, and the sheet set. That's really all I care about. And I'm going to add a sheet. So I'm going to click on Add Element, and we'll just copy some values from one cell to another. We'll make this one sheet A9 and paste. So I'll import this data back into the Revit project. And this will give me my report. I'll just overwrite, I've already got one by the same name, I just continually overwrite. And so it reports here that sure enough, the project information that I changed has been changed, and the sheet that I asked for has been added. And if we look at the cover sheet, there's the project information now been filled in. There's my sheet A9, and I'll just take this title block and copy that and paste it to my new sheet. And so now my new sheet is up to date as well. So there's one example. Let's take a look at another example. I'm going to go to the level 1 presentation view, and I'm just going to pick on a door here. Well, actually what I'm going to do is just add a parameter. So BIM Connect will work with custom parameters as well. So I'm just going to go up here to the Manage ribbon and go to Project Parameters, and I'm going to add a custom parameter. Just for grins, I'm going to go ahead and add a door fire rating parameter and make it a type parameter, and we'll apply that to doors, and it's going to be a text value. So that parameter now is assigned to all doors, but it's going to be blank. Now I'm going to go to the BIM Connect tool and click Export Model View. This time I'm going to go ahead and export the entire project and element types. And in particular, I want to look at my doors. And we'll go ahead and check everything on. Now, in this example, I'm going to go ahead and just sort by level. And I'm looking at this door here, and I've got a little bit of a red flag here because in this project, most of my doors are 36 by 84. This one's 34 by 84. I need to look at that. So I'm going to double click on this row here and then just minimize BIM Connect. And it'll actually zoom to that door and show it to me. And I see, yeah, that's an exit door. It's going out to an exit stair. That's definitely not right. So I need to edit that. So I'm going to go ahead and change this one using the drop-down list. I'll change it to the 36 by 84 door. And I'll even change the frame material here for that door element to steel. And then I'm going to go to my door types. And I see on the door types here, the 36 by 84, and if I turn off again some of the things that I really don't need to be concerned about right now, I see over here there's no value for that door fire rating parameter that I just created, so I'll go ahead and fill that in. So I've updated the type. I've also taken an existing door and moved it to that type. One more thing, this is kind of a preview of something I'll be showing you in a little bit. I'm going to go to my rooms here, and I'm going to add a new room. So I'll sort on the room number and reverse sort. So I see my highest room number here is 315. I want another room on the 3rd floor. I'm going to go ahead and add a new room, and this will be 316. Now as soon as I hit enter here or go to another cell, it's going to, or at some point it's going to resort and go up to the top, but I'm ready for that. I'm going to call this janitor's closet, and I'll just copy this value here for the department up to my new room. So I added a room, modified a door, put it on a different type, and I modified that custom parameter for that door type. So let's see what happens. I'll click on Import to Revit, and the door just changed. Don't know if you saw that, but generate my report. And sure enough, we see a door type value has changed. So there's the change to the door type fire rating. I changed a door to that type and added that value, and there's the room that I added there. And sure enough, if I pick on the door, it is now that 36 by 84 type with steel as the frame material, and if I click on Edit Type, here is the door fire rating value that I had added that was previously blank. And I added that room, which basically means if I go to the Architecture tab and click on Room, this is a room that is not placed, but it's available to be placed. That's the room that I added, and I can now place it in a valid space. Now, I don't really have any in this project for that. I just wanted to show you that real quick. Now, all that's being done without even going to Excel. So let's take a look at what we can do with Excel. I'm going to scroll down to the room schedule here, and I see a problem. this department, all these rooms are being sorted by their department value. And this department here, instruction, that really should be named training. Now there's quite a few rooms here. In order to change this, I would have to either go into a schedule where it showed that in a column and change it room by room, click, 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 or go to each room and pick them individually in the model and change them there. It can be rather time-consuming and tedious and rather frustrating. But using the new capability, the new editing capabilities by unprotecting the worksheets in Excel, I can do this very quickly. So what I'm going to do is go back to Export Model View, and I've got a pre-saved profile. So I mentioned this feature as well. Instead of manually specifying what I want to export, I've got a pre-saved profile. I'm going to click on Open, and I want to export just the doors, door types, and rooms. I've got a profile set up for that. So it automatically configures this page here for what it's supposed to do. When I go to Table Profile here, it's already pre-selected doors and door types and rooms. So if I click on doors, now I'm not going to edit in this view. Again, I've already done that. I'm going to show Excel, but I can sort this according to the way I want it to be sorted in Excel. So for the doors, for example, maybe I'm going to want them sorted by the family and type. The door types I'll sort by the family name, and then for the rooms this time I'll sort based on department. And again, maybe on the rooms I don't need a whole bunch of stuff here. I just need really the room names, some of the basic information. I'll just kind of leave it at that, maybe turn off occupancy and comments. Okay, so again, I can pre-configure how I want this to look in Excel. Now I'll go ahead and export this out to Excel. Go to File Name, and there we are. So here's each category becomes a different worksheet in Excel. Here's the doors category, sorted the way I sorted it in Revit. Here's the door types category. Now in the door types category, I'm actually going to create a new type. Now this would have been rather difficult to do in the previous version, but because these cells are all unprotected, they're still showing gray saying, hey, you know, these values typically are not editable, and one of those is the element ID. Well, got a little trick for creating a new type. I'm going to copy that row and then paste into that row. And the trick here is I don't want these to have the same element ID. Now Revit would work, it would work, but probably what would happen is this door here would go away and this one would win because it's the last one on the list. But I can just take that value here and give it a -1. That's a little code for BIM Connect to tell it this is a new object. And Revit will assign an element ID to it when it adds it. Now I'm going to go ahead and give it a new name. And if I mess up on any of this, Revit will refuse to import it, and it'll show it on my report that, hey, this didn't get imported for whatever reason. That's what those error codes are for. But if I do everything correctly, it should work. I'll give that a type mark. So I've created a new door type. Now I'm going to go to my rooms, and here I just want to do some renaming of this department value. And you know, I can use the copy and paste functionality. That's very flexible here. But now, since this is unprotected, I can also use the replace. So I can say find every instance of instruction and replace it with training. And so now all those rooms now are assigned to this. Now this is just being done in Excel. I'm going to go ahead and save the spreadsheet. And then back in my project, we'll import elements, grab that same spreadsheet. We'll review the data. So here's the doors. I didn't do anything to my doors, but here's the door types. Here's that new single flush door type that I want to add. Nothing's been added to Revit yet. This is, again, a preview. Here's my rooms, and I will see that, sure enough, they've been reclassified as training. So when I click on Import to Revit, it'll do it. Now we see training down here in the schedule, and of course I'll get my report. We see that I do have a new door type. All of these changes were made, don't have any red flags. So if I go back to my level 1 view and I grab that door, I now have a 24 by 80 door, and now I've just violated my building code again. So that's BIM Connect. I'm going to show you another use case scenario. So let me close this file. Got a real simple little project here. And in this project, what I've done, and I've set up a custom schedule that has two custom parameters. One is a required program area parameter for a project manager or a designer to input for every room what its required area needs to be according to the program. And then I've built this one. It's a calculated value that simply subtracts the area from the required area, and if this number is greater than 0, I have not met my program requirements yet. This is just a little analysis tool. Now, I don't have any rooms in this project, so I'm going to go ahead and create some. Now, in this Excel spreadsheet here, I've already started creating some, but again, I'm a project manager, I'm a designer, I really don't want to do this in Revit. Even if I know how to use Revit, I might find this more efficient for me just to work in Excel right now while I'm doing my programming. And I need a couple of more rooms here. So again, I'm just going to take this row here and copy that and paste it to those two. So I can do this as many times as I want. Just do some edits here. And this one here, I'll give a different name. And its required area, I'll make, say, 250 instead of 150. I'll save my spreadsheet. And import the spreadsheet into Revit. Just double check my data here. And again, here's our report saying everything came in correctly, no red flags. And you can see these rooms have been added to the schedule. They're all not placed. In other words, they don't exist in the model, but they're there for me to use. So now if I go back here to my level 1 plan, just a real simple little floor plan here, kind of nonsense. But now I can go in here and start adding rooms from this list. And so now I can start working on meeting my program requirements, which were established in Excel and imported into Revit. I'll just put in a few more. And if I go back to my schedule, I can now see really quickly where I've met my requirements and where I haven't. So that is BIM Connect. We also now are going to be offering an additional kind of add-on for BIM Connect called BIM Connect Pro, which allows for automated exporting. Let me show you how that works. I'll go back to Export Model View here, and I'm going to click on Setup Automation Exporting. And first choose the Revit file that I want to export. So we'll choose that same file I was working in earlier. And then what profile do I want to use? So these again are those saved profiles. This one's going to be for project management. So I'm going to be exporting my type definitions, my settings, not the elements, but the non-model elements and the type definitions. So maybe for QA, QC. Where do I want that report to go? Or that Excel spreadsheet, I should say. So I'll go ahead and put it in the same folder. Oops, back up one map. This one. And then when do I want it to happen? So I could have it happen every week at a particular time. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and set it to run. Today's Thursday, so I'm going to set it to run today. It's now 12/12/16. I'm going to go ahead and give myself a little bit of a buffer here. Don't want it to happen right away. Okay, and I'll save that. And I could add more. So I could add a new automation for another file. I can just keep adding more and more files on here, but this looks good enough for demo purposes. I'll go ahead and close, and I'm going to close out of Revit. Now, we're not going to sit here and stare at my screen. I'll go ahead and continue on with the PowerPoint presentation and kind of start summarizing some things. If I did that right, if I got all the clicks right, we should, oh, there it comes. So here comes Revit. So it launches Revit. All you have to do is just make sure the computer's turned on. Launch Revit, and then we'll see it start the export here. We'll let it run through this, and then I'll continue on. What's cool about this is it launches Revit, but you don't actually see the file. You don't have to wait for it to open the file. It kind of does it behind the scenes. I'll go ahead and continue while we're waiting. There we go. Now it's exporting the data. So you can see what it's exporting out. Again, type definitions, settings, that kind of thing. Done. So that's it. At this point, there's a spreadsheet sitting there waiting for me to go take a look at and edit if I need to. So let's summarize a few things. First off, ASTI tools, variety of tools for doing common tasks, a lot of renumbering tasks in particular, also ModelMedic and the change case tool. And then of course, BIM Connect, we've got an improved interface with this new version. We can add sheets and rooms. Don't need to edit in Excel if you don't want to. You can work in the grid view. We can sort on any column. But if you do choose to work in Excel, they are now unprotected, which gives you a lot more flexibility for adding types, doing find and replace, that kind of thing. Showed you a specific use case for programming, probably come up with a lot more. And then finally, the automated export capability of BIM Connect Pro. So with that, I'm pretty much done. We can go ahead and take any questions. Do we have any questions, Alyssa?
Yes, yes, Matt, we do. The first question came in the earlier part of the presentation. It said, will the room renumber work for spaces and or space names?
No, it won't. It only works for rooms. The ASTI tools are currently really more geared for architectural projects. So unfortunately, spaces being more of an MEP thing, it doesn't work for those. But
Okay.
that is something I can forward to our development team for maybe a future release.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Another question, this is concerning BIM Connect. Will it let you import an existing Excel spreadsheet, such as an electrical panel schedule, if we don't want to use the Revit panel schedule?
No, the reason for that is BIM Connect is looking for a specific formatted spreadsheet. So it has to be a spreadsheet that was exported from Revit to begin with. So the last example where I showed where there were no rooms in the project, what I actually did to create that Excel spreadsheet was I exported the room data from Revit even though there was no data in there. But what that did was it formatted the spreadsheet properly for me so I could then go and edit it. So unfortunately, no, if you've got a spreadsheet that's coming from somewhere else, it's not going to be formatted in the correct way for BIM Connect to understand it and import it into Revit properly.
Got it, got it. What versions of Revit does the add-in work with?
Currently, ASTI Tools and BIM Connect, the versions that are downloadable now from our website, work in Revit 2016 and Revit 2017. The version of BIM Connect that I was just showing will actually work in 2017 and 2018. And that should be available. We expect to have that available at the end of the month.
Oh, that's terrific. What if we need something very specific the tool does not do?
In that case, contact us. We have developers on staff, and we can let you know first if it's possible to do that, and then give you a price proposal for what it would take to make that happen.
Excellent, excellent. And another one, can we be a beta tester of these or other new products?
Certainly, just let us know. For BIM Connect, you can for either one of these, frankly, for ASTI Tools or BIM Connect, if you want to be a beta tester, you can contact me directly. My email address is mdillon, as in Matt Dillon, D-I-L-L-O-N, mdillon @asti.com. Just send me an email and I'll get it to the right person to make sure you're a beta tester on the next go-round.
Oh, that sounds terrific. The other question that came up, we are a structural engineering company. Is there specific industries BIM Connect is better for?
That's a hard question to answer. It will export structural information. It'll export MEP information. All you were seeing here was architectural because that's what the model that I was in. Had I been in a structural model, it would have exported the structural framing members. So for example, the member sizes. I mean, I can get a spreadsheet that shows all of that. I would have to say probably no, not really. It's probably usable, just equally usable for pretty much all disciplines, just maybe in different ways.
Terrific. And then what if you have questions about ASTI Tools?
What kind of questions?
Let's see, what if I have questions with ASTI tools? Just a general question, how would you get them answered?
You can just, if you're having technical issues or you need support on it, you can email support@asti.com and they'll get it to the right person.
Terrific. And the last question is, are you developing any other tools or add-ins at this time?
Yeah, there's actually a whole slew of products that we develop internally and also that third-party products that we partner with other vendors for. And the best place to find those is if you go to our website, www.asti.com, and then click on the products link, all products. You will see an alphabetical listing of everything there, not just Autodesk products, but third-party products, the products that we develop internally, etc.